The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Foyle Legal. For advice tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified legal professional. Welcome to Personal Injury Claims Explained by Foyle Legal, your trusted source for understanding personal injury claims in Western Australia. Each week, we simplify complex legal issues, from motor vehicle accidents to workplace injuries, so you can confidently navigate your rights and claim the compensation you deserve.
Okay, so picture this. You're in a rush trying to navigate a packed parking lot and tap.
Yeah.
You barely graze the bumper in front of you.
Oh, no.
We've all been there, right? You might just brush it off thinking it's nothing major. But get this, what seems like a minor fender bender could actually be a much bigger deal than you think.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's exactly why we're diving into the world of minor car accidents today, armed with insights from Foyle Legal, a personal injury law firm in Perth.
Okay.
They've got this super detailed blog post that breaks down everything you need to know, especially if you're cruising around Western Australia.
Yeah, their expertise is really valuable here because they don't just lay out the legal jargon. They actually give you the practical stuff, what you actually need to know to protect yourself.
Exactly. So buckle up, everyone, because whether you're a daily driver or just hop in the car every now and then, this deep dive is packed with info you don't want to miss.
Absolutely, and as we'll uncover, even those barely there bumps can have lasting impacts, and not just on your health, but surprisingly, your legal rights.
And speaking of which, one of the first things that jumped out at me from Foyle Legal's blog post was how they define minor car accidents.
Yeah.
It's actually way broader than you might expect.
Their definition of minor is more about the initial appearance of the accident than the long-term effects it can have.
So we're not just talking about major crashes here. They include those parking lot mishaps we were just talking about.
The ones where you swear you checked your blind spot 100 times.
You read my mind. And it's not just those oops moments in the parking lot. They also consider low-speed sideswipes as minor accidents. You know those times when you're stuck in traffic and someone merges a little too close for comfort?
Unfortunately, those are almost unavoidable in today's traffic.
Totally. And even single vehicle accidents, like accidentally backing into that pole in your garage. Been there, done that. The point is, Foyle Legal considers all of these situations as potentially minor accidents.
And this is so crucial because just because the damage seems insignificant at first glance doesn't mean the impact on you is insignificant. It's not just about a scratch on your car. It's about potential injuries and your legal rights should any complications arise.
And this is where things get really interesting, right? You'd think minor accident, naturally means minor injuries, but Foyle Legal actually lists a whole bunch of injuries that are surprisingly common, even in these less intense collisions.
Oh, absolutely. This is where understanding that difference between the initial minor appearance and the potential long-term consequences is so important.
So we're talking about those obvious ones, like bruises, which honestly most of us would probably just shake off after a fender bender.
Which is exactly why this is so crucial. A bruise might seem like no big deal in the moment, but it could actually be a sign of a deeper injury that needs attention. It's easy to downplay things in the heat of the moment, but those early signs are important.
Yeah, and it goes way beyond just bruises, right? We're talking whiplash, which makes sense with the sudden stops and starts. But then they even mention things like concussions. Those can be pretty serious.
Exactly, and that really highlights how those symptoms don't always show up right away. You might have a mild headache after a minor accident and think nothing of it, but it could actually be something much more serious developing.
Like they always say, better safe than sorry. And Foyle Legal really emphasizes that you should never ignore these injuries, even if they seem small at first.
Yeah.
But then they take it a step further, and this is where the legal side comes in, especially in Western Australia.
Right. This is where understanding your rights and how the compensation system works in WA is super important. Because even if an accident seems minor, you might still be eligible for compensation for your injuries.
Okay, so break it down for us. What do we need to know?
Well, Foyle Legal makes it clear that you can absolutely file a compensation claim even for these minor accidents. It's not just for those major highway pileups. But of course, like with anything legal, there are rules.
So fault matters.
Yeah.
Which seems logical.
It does, but here's where it gets interesting. Even if you're the one who messed up, even if you're at fault, you might still be eligible for some compensation.
Hold on, really. That's not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
I thought if you messed up, you were out of luck.
You would think so, right?
Right.
But Western Australia has this system. It's a fault-based system for figuring out who pays for what after an accident. But it's not always as simple as it sounds. Even if you're partially at fault, you might be able to claim some costs.
Okay, that's huge for people to know. It's
Yeah.
like, even if you think you messed up, don't just assume you're out of luck. There might be options.
Exactly. And this is where getting your ducks in a row, like documenting everything, becomes so important.
They're not kidding about that, are they? Foyle Legal mentions time limits, and those seem pretty strict. No waiting around to see how you feel in a few weeks, it seems like.
No time is definitely of the essence here. The sooner you act, the better. And a big part of that is gathering your evidence.
And by evidence, we're talking about everything, right? From taking pictures of even a tiny dent to holding onto those medical reports like they're winning lottery tickets.
Precisely. Every single detail matters. Those photos of the damage, your medical reports, even if someone saw the accident and can back up your story, that's all valuable information. It helps paint that picture of what happened and what you went through because of it.
It's like you're building a case, even for something like a fender bender, which most people wouldn't even think twice about. Okay, so let's say you've had one of these minor accidents, you've got your photos and reports all organized. When do you actually need to, call in a lawyer? When does it go beyond just a quick chat with the insurance company?
That's a question Foyle Legal answers really well. They get that most minor accidents don't need a lawyer at all. You can sort things out with the insurance company directly, but there are a few situations where having a lawyer on your side is a really smart move.
It's like having someone who knows the playbook.
Right.
Because most of us, we're not legal experts, so knowing when to call in the pros can be tough.
Exactly. So Foyle Legal says one situation is if there's a disagreement about who is at fault. Like sometimes it's obvious who messed up, but other times it's just not so clear-cut.
Especially in those parking lot scrapes. Everyone's always got their own version of what happened.
Exactly. And if you and the other driver don't agree on who's to blame, that's when things can get complicated. It affects who has to pay for those damages, who covers those medical bills, and even if there are any long-term costs because of the accident.
Yeah, okay, disagreement about fault. Got it. What else?
Another one is if the insurance company is being, difficult. Let's just say they're not always the easiest to deal with.
You're being very polite. Everyone knows dealing with insurance can be a headache.
They're looking out for their own bottom line, which isn't always the same as getting you what you deserve. A lawyer levels the playing field. They understand all the insurance company tactics and can make sure you're treated fairly.
It's like having someone who speaks their language in your corner. And what about just that feeling of am I really getting a fair deal here? I feel like that's something a lot of people wonder, especially if they're not familiar with this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And it's smart to question that. A good lawyer will look at all the specifics of your case, the accident, your injuries, even things like lost wages if you had to take time off work. They make sure any settlement offered by the insurance company actually covers everything you're entitled to.
It's that peace of mind knowing you've got someone fighting for you to get what you deserve. So even if you're not sure, it never hurts to at least talk to a lawyer, get their take on things.
Exactly. Think of it as an investment in protecting yourself and your rights.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, we've got to talk about the most important takeaway from Foyle Legal's blog post. And this is where I'm going to quote them directly. Seek medical attention, even for seemingly minor injuries. They really hammered that point home.
And for good reason. What might just feel like a bit of stiffness today could be something more serious down the road. Getting it checked out, having that medical record that protects you.
It's all about connecting those dots, right?
Yeah.
Even a minor accident can have health consequences that pop up later, and you want to be prepared.
Exactly. It's about protecting your well-being both now and in the future.
So much good info packed into one deep dive. We went from scratching the surface of what a minor car accident even is to feeling like we've got this legal knowledge in our back pocket. Now, I'm curious what really stuck with you from all of this.
For me, it's Foyle Legal's emphasis on documentation. Even in this digital age, having that physical proof photos, reports, those little details can really make or break your case. It's always better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
It's like that old saying, get it in writing.
Yeah.
But for the world of fender benders and beyond.
Precisely.
Great advice. And for our listeners, here's a final thought. We spent this episode exploring these laws in Western Australia. But this stuff varies from place to place. So if you're not in WA, it's worth looking into what the rules are where you live. That way, no matter where you're driving, you'll know what to do. Until next time, drive safe, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Personal Injury Claims Explained by Foyle Legal. We hope this episode helped clarify your rights and next steps in your injury claim. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and visit foylelegal.com for more useful information. See you next time.